Hello ladies and gents, boys, girls, welcome back to another video. Hope you've been enjoying the RC content and of course the motorbike content as well. Now let me just start by saying, if you're new to the channel and you haven't subscribed, please make sure you hit the subscribe button down below and also turn on the notifications bell so you get uploaded every time I upload and bring you guys a new video. Also, I've just introduced something new. If you'd like to support this channel a little bit further, so if I've been of any help to you over the years, I've just created an Amazon wish list. Again, you can find the link to that down in the description below. There's various items on there of a varying degree of expense, most of them fairly small, and if you'd like to purchase one of those items, they'll come directly to me and I'll be very grateful, and of course I'll mention and appreciate your gratitude on the channel by means of mentioning you at the start or end of the video. And of course featuring the items that you've purchased in the videos as well. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about cleaning, and this has been a requested video for some time and I've never really gotten round to it, and I felt that this was the ideal opportunity, having come back to the hobby after a couple of years. I felt that, you know, we've got lots of cars kicking around that need a little bit of cleaning, a little bit of attention. So today we're going to be turning our attention to the HPI Racing Pulse 4.6 buggy. This buggy is approximately, I'm going to say, about 6 years old, and it hasn't been looked after that well. You know, it's been put away very dirty for a start, which is a little bit unusual for me, but that's just how it is. So we're going to be having a look and cleaning the buggy. So to clean a Nitro car, you don't really need many things, and you don't have to do this process after every use, because I appreciate that these things get dirty very quickly and that would be very difficult to keep up. So you don't really need much, to be honest. I think you just need a series of rags. So I just use these Turnergy towels. I remember buying a bulk load of these several years ago, and I've got loads of them to use up, and they're machine washable as well, but if you've got oil and stuff on them, make sure you don't wash them with your clothes, otherwise you won't have a very happy wife because your clothes end up stinking of oil. So yeah, I just need some rags or old cloth, stuff like that. And WD-40, okay, and the WD-40 is a water displacer. That's what WD stands for. It's not really a lubricator. Actually, if you're spraying it on things where there's grease, it'll actually remove the grease. So you want to be careful where you spray this. But if you're going to be using water to wash your RC car, which we're going to be today, if you're going to be using water, then you're going to want something to actually remove the water, especially from the metal components that could go rusty if we don't dry it correctly. If you have got a heat gun or something to dry it after, or an air compressor, that's even better. But at this garage area I don't have electricity, so that's a little bit more difficult to do, but definitely sort of air compressors, dryers, hair dryers even, really good to get things nice and dry. So we need some WD-40, and the last thing is soapy water. Don't really need much water, but you definitely need a nice little bit of soap, and what I use is one of these detailing brushes, and that just allows you to get in all the crevices and cracks of the RC car, allowing you to give it a nice good clean. So I'm going to bring the camera a little bit nearer, and then we'll start by taking the wheels off, take the body shell off, and I'm also actually going to take the engine out of this one. That's going to allow me to have a closer inspection of the car, see if there's any components that need replacing, and it's also going to allow me, one, to protect the engine from water, and two, allow me to clean the engine out of the car and also access the areas that I wouldn't be able to access to clean with the engine in. Okay, let's grab the camera nearer and start the process. Okay, so you join me on the workbench now, so I'm just going to start by removing the body shell so you can see what's revealed underneath. And you can see it's pretty dirty, you know, it does need a good clean. There's lots of dirt and debris everywhere. And the main advantage of looking after your RC car is that when you come to then sell it, it's going to be worth a little bit more. People are more likely to buy it if it looks really new. So I'm going to start first by removing the engine, and I'm going to remove the wheels because I can wash those separately, and then we'll see where we can go from there. I have been known in the past to remove the whole front end from the chassis and the whole rear end from the chassis, so then you're left with three parts really. You're left with the main section, then you're left with the rear end and the front end, and you can wash them all separately. But we don't want to go too mad with it, we just want to get it looking better. So let's take a few shots of the car now then, so that we can compare it to what we have at the end. So I'm going to start by taking out the engine. No, I'm not. I'm going to start by taking off the wheels. So to take the wheels off, I believe you need a 17mm socket. 17? Yeah, 17mm. It's normally on one of the sides of your four-way wrench. So we're going to take those off. So now what we're going to do is remove the engine. Now this, like I say, is optional, but if you do remove the engine, it's going to allow you to have a much better inspection of the car and also allow you to check your clutch, and from a cleaning perspective it's going to be a lot easier to clean the car as well. Okay, engine removed. Didn't take too long, did it? That's going to allow us now to have a nice inspection of the engine, and you can see there lots and lots of dirt on the engine, and a clean engine is a happy engine because it's going to be able to displace its heat a lot easier if the crankcase and heatsink especially is nice and cool, and also it's going to allow us to really get inside the glow plug hole to clean that dirt out as well. Okay, so now that the engine is removed, again I'm going to put that aside, and now it's time to start the basic cleaning of the car itself. So let's just remove that air filter. That can go to one side. Let's pop that there to stay safe. So what we've got now is the chassis of the car, and you can see lots and lots of dirt to contend with. So I'm going to start by doing the cleaning. Just going to take my brush here, and then we're just going to start. So I'm going to continue this process, going over the whole car, and then I'll see you in the drying section. It's been about 10 minutes or so, and I've been over the whole car with the brush. In some of the more heavily caked on areas, I've used either the towel and also sprayed a little bit of WD-40, and you can also use things such as car cleaning products, like the muck off stuff for motorbikes works really nicely. It just depends what sort of finish you're looking for. We're not looking for anything near to perfection. We just want to get this car looking a little bit neater and a little bit cleaner, ready for storage purposes really. And also potentially, you know, if we decide to sell this one, then it just looks a lot more appealing, looks like it's been really looked after. So now we're on to the drying stage. So I'm just using my Eternity towel, and this is the really important stage. You know, we don't want to be leaving water sitting on the car. It's all well and good making it wet, but now we need to dry it really carefully, and especially all the metal components as well. I'm quite lucky today, it's a nice sunny day, so I can just leave it to sit in the sun and dry. If you have got an air compressor, then I absolutely recommend that you use that, because those work really nicely. And you can also buy pet dryers or motorcycle dryers that would allow you to really get in all the nooks and crannies and get the water out. But I haven't got that with me today here, so that's how we're going to do it. We're just going to go over the whole car and dry the car. And when I've dried it, I'll be back to you in a minute, and then we'll do the next stage, which is cleaning the components. So I've got the wheels to clean, I've got the engine to clean, the fuel tank and the exhaust to clean, and then the last step of course would be putting it all back together, followed by a little lubrication and WD-40ing of some of the parts, just to make sure no water stays on. So let's have a little look then. So this is what we've ended up with so far. Looks pretty clean. Look, like I say, you know, this car's 5-6 years old, maybe a bit longer. These things aren't the easiest things to clean in the world. You know, they've got lots of little nooks and crannies, areas that you can't access. Unless you take the whole thing apart, there's always going to be bits and bobs that you can't get to, areas of dirt. We're not looking for perfection, we're just looking for it to be a little bit cleaner and nicer. Depending on what you're looking to achieve from this, if you wanted to take the whole front section off, that would allow you to get into the areas below the front bulkhead there. Equally, if you wanted to take the rear section off, that would allow you to access better areas there for cleaning. But I'm quite happy with this so far. So the wheels are nice and easy because we can obviously just submerge those straight in. One point to think about is don't use hot water for this when you do your wheels, because if you use hot water it could melt or soften the glue that's holding on your tyres. So unless you don't want to remove your tyres, then you don't really want to use hot water. Warm would probably be okay, but you know, cold's fine for this. And then we're just going to use the brush again to get in all of those hard to reach nitty gritty areas. Exhaust, same thing, bung it right in, no problem at all. Nice bit of soap on there, and that's just shifting all of that dirt. Exhaust, it tends to cake on a lot because obviously exhaust is hot, so the dirt tends to cake on. WD-40 is a very good cleaner. We'll spray that on if we wanted to. That's just going to help soften up the dirt and the grease and the grime. And that's coming right off there. Fuel tank again, bung it straight in. To rinse out the inside of the fuel tank, I'm going to be using just nitro fuel. Just put a little bit of fuel in. Doesn't need to be new fuel, but it just needs to be liquid and not jelly. Just pour in a little bit of fuel, slosh it around, and then pour it out. And obviously we want to make sure that all of the water's out of the tank before we just remove the fuel lines. And keeping this area clean is obviously going to mean that less chance of getting dirt in your fuel tank when you are filling up. We'll slosh it around, get the stuff out as well. There you go, and that looks really, really good. So now I'm just going to dry these components. Last one obviously is your air filter. You all probably know how to wash an air filter because that's part of your regular maintenance. We don't really need to go through that. So I'm going to give that one a quick wash, and I'll come back to you in a minute when we're ready to do the engine. So here's the engine then. The engine itself is looking pretty grimy. What we need to be careful of with the engine is that we don't get any dirt inside the carburetor. Okay, and also, as I mentioned, inside the glow plug hole. So if you haven't got a glow plug in there, then you need to make sure you get one in there. Firstly, let's put this thing back on. Okay, I know obviously we've still got this hole here, but that's going to massively decrease your chances of things just dropping straight in. Okay, and then the second thing we can do is make sure carb's all the way closed as well, because that's obviously going to help prevent anything going in, and I think that should be fine. Obviously we're not going to be submersing the engine. So cleaning this then, first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use some WD-40 on this. I'm just going to spray it on. There's lots of grime and stuff on here, and like I said to you, WD-40 is a real good degreaser. It's a really good way of easily cleaning this sort of stuff. Just going to give it a nice scrub in there. These brushes are really, really good all around the carb area. And depending how far you want to go with this, you could obviously take your carb out and do sort of an internal clean of components as well. Okay, so now it's time to get this car back together again. So I'm not going to show you necessarily how to install parts because I think I've covered all of that many times on the channel, but I'm just going to time lapse this and you just watch it. I'm going to start by popping in the fuel tank, and then I'll put the engine in and then the exhaust, and then that's pretty much it. Before we put the wheels on, just going to spray a little bit of WD-40 just on the wheel hubs, just to remove any moisture that may still be under there. Now that the wheels are on, I'm going to set the gear mesh. Now I'm going to pop the exhaust pipe on. Then I think it looks really, really smart Certainly a lot better than what it did at the start of the exercise. There's a few bits that ideally need replacing. I've identified a few screws missing on the engine mount. That obviously needs replacing. It could do with a new exhaust, especially manifold, because the manifold's got some caked on stuff that won't come off. But I think it's really smart. It's a really clean little car. Let's put the body shell on now and we'll have a look at the finished result. Okay, so here it is then, the finished item. Looks pretty cool, right? I put these wheels on it, not too sure about them. They're off the Hyper 7. But I think they're pretty cool. It's just like a change. The white matches the white spoiler at the back, so it looks pretty nice. So there it is, nice little clean today. Like I say, if you're going to use water, use it at your own risk. Make sure you clean everything off and dry it off properly. Drying is the most important part, and of course make sure you use WD-40, because that's what WD-40 is there for. It's a water displacer, so it's going to get rid of the water, especially off the drive shafts at the front and the around the gearbox as well, on your spur gear. Don't get it on the brakes though. But I think that's really smart. I've identified a few parts that this one needs to get it up together. So it needs some new engine mount screws. It also needs a new clutch bell bearing as well. So I checked the clutch while the engine was out, and the bearing is absolutely shot. But apart from that, it runs really nicely. The rear suspension is also a little bit bouncy, so that's something that could do with being addressed. But apart from that, very nice little car. So it's always worth looking after your cars. So I hope you found this video useful. Once again, if you're new to the channel, please make sure you hit the red subscribe button down below, and also hit the notification bell so that you get notified when I upload a new video. And I will catch you in the next video.